Very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to Body, Mind, Soul Live Talk number 76. And this afternoon, we are going to talk about insights of a photo. If this is your first time watching Body, Mind, Soul Live Talk, we are here to always impact life positively together with everyone, whether it's through our content on magazines or through this live talk as well. Yeah, so two questions for everyone. If for you who are very much in love of photography, or who are the one that loves to be in front of the camera, or the one that always hide in front of the camera and hide behind of the camera and love taking images for others, I have two questions for all of you, and I would love to hear from you, and you can type in your comment. Have it ever occurred to you that the photo also captures you and your inner being? So let me know what is your feeling about this, or what is your view on this. And another question is, was the photo for you or for someone else? Do you take the photos for yourself, or you're taking it for someone else, or you always like, hey, I thought photos are meant to take for someone else, isn't it? Well, this is a good question for all of us to have a think about it, and do write it in on the comment. Welcome to everyone, whether you are watching this live on Facebook or YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you can just click the bell button and subscribe, because every Saturday we are here to bring you different guests and talk about everything that is under the sun. And this afternoon, we will be having Nick Coulter all the way from Australia to talk about insights of a photo. He himself is a professional photographer, an art teacher, at the same time also as a passionate pathway specialist. And if you are wondering what is that all about, we can have him talk about it later. But before that, how is everyone doing? And let me know, where are you tuning in from? Okay, let me know, where are you from? Say hello to me if you can. And also let me know where you're coming from. And also remember that all our live talk is always available on our Facebook as well as on our YouTube as well. Okay, so before that, before I bring up the guests, there are two important things to also let all of you know, that we, Body, Mind, Soul, are officially on Telegram, and the Telegram is open for everyone to join the channel. If you wish to be uplifted every day, we're literally sharing different content and different messages on Telegram every day. If you wish to, be with a group that is always, looking to improve their life into a better zone, this is where you should subscribe to. Join our Telegram so that you'll be updated with more interesting, positive vibes, as well as also all the news that is coming up. And also, you know what? All our live talks informations will be shared via our Telegram as well. So I believe my admin will be sharing it out. If not, you can also look for Body, Mind, Soul Mag on the Telegram channel, or click the link. The second thing is, if you are not aware, we started off as a magazine. Yeah, in 2014, we started off with hard copy, and we have ventured into a digital copy e-magazine since 2017. And in the year 2021, we have opened the entire collection of our library from volume 1 up to the most latest volume, free for everyone to read. So if you want any of the contents or any of the articles, and you are someone who loves to read, and you are someone loves to read plus bonus, looking for mind-provoking articles, or any articles that connects you with your soul, that's where you should read Body, Mind, Soul magazine. And how you can read, all you need to do is just join Body, Mind, Soul community, which is a free sign up, and you get to also get your hands into all the volumes. And we have published up to volume 30 as of October. Next year, January, we will be having our volume 31. So join us over here, and let me know where you're coming from. We have someone that is from Malacca today, and I think her line is pretty stable today, I hope. Yeah, and also for those who are watching, don't be shy. Just warm up a little bit with me. I can see a lot of people are watching, even if you're watching on YouTube, there's a comment button where you can actually type in and write in comment if you're watching it from YouTube. Yeah. So if you're very new to this, Christina loves to engage with everyone. So if you are too quiet, sometimes I will be a bit like, waiting for everyone to talk to me before I will bring up our guest. Yay! So I want to check with all of you. So I have someone that's from KL. So Liz, do you take photos? Do you take photos often? What I observe myself when we are about to bring up Nick later is I realize in the past I don't like to be in the photo. I actually don't like to be in the photo. I can help everyone take photos. I can take photos of, of all the nature and of all my friends, but not myself. I think maybe I should ask Nick later. Why is that so? Hello, Master. Hi. Heart shake to you too. Pyong back to you. We have Eva from Sri Kembangan. So do everyone loves to take photos? And I go back to the two questions, okay? So let me know what is your share, what is your view. Has it ever occurred to you that the photo also captures you and your inner workings? What is inner workings, by the way? Do you know what is that? Was the photo for you or for someone else? And if you have any friends who love to take photos or who enjoy being photographed, share this live talk out, click the share button out so that we can invite more people and to join us before I bring my my guests up. Hi, Master. Hello, hello. Lots of love. Okay, so when you see me doing this is what you know. It's about time that you warm up your palms and you clap, clap, clap together with me because we are bringing up Nick all the way from Australia to join us this beautiful afternoon. Hello, Nick. How are you?
Hello. I'm really good. I'm good. It's beautiful. Not beautiful weather, but it's beautiful to be here. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
cloudy, rainy, floods in Australia, but it's all good here at the moment.
floods in Australia.
Yeah, the state, Queensland, where I am, has been suffering from massive amounts of rain, and that's bad for
Wow.
farmers, but very good for dams. So lots and lots and lots of water filling our dams. Some places are getting more rain than they've had in like 20, 30 years, all in overnight. So yeah, it's been
Wow.
a huge weather, but good. 2 years ago, where I live was threatened by bushfires. Remember the bushfires in Australia? They wiped
Yes.
out
Yes.
masses and masses of Australia. But now we're in this crazy weather where now it's pouring with rain and people are in floods. So yeah,
Wow.
so
Well, how Earth
yeah,
have changed all the time, like how our life changes as well, and that's why photos are very important. If you capture it, I think if you capture it, you capture that moment, right, Nick?
yeah, yeah. Well, I've moved to the area where I am here at
Mhm.
Easter, and what's really fascinating is in Facebook, people are sharing the photos that they took 2 years ago at the same time. They're like their memories are coming back up in their Facebook feed, and they're sharing them
Mhm.
back up to say what a different space we live in, what a different feeling it is leading up to Christmas now without the fires. And those photos, as you were saying before, it's like those photos were taken and then instantly put up into social media. But those photos essentially were not for themselves. Those photos were for other people, weren't they? They were sharing them out to the community. They were putting onto public notice boards and saying, look what's happening where I am in Coolum, so in Noosa, that these are the things that are happening. Be aware that this is happening. So it's the photos that are like social documentation, social conscience awareness. Watch out. So yeah.
Nice, nice. We have some comments that I'm going to pull it out, Nick, before we go into your story. We have Eva
Yep.
over here. I love selfie. I love to take nature photos using my DSLR. Okay, I'm the person who only
Oh,
use
someone's
what?
serious.
I
So
only
you,
use this.
uh,
Ah, yes. Only
well,
that. I
yeah,
do not know how to control all the buttons when someone passes a DSLR to me. I'm like, okay, I only know to press that shutter. That's all. Can you please make sure all your setting is already set? Because I
yeah,
have a lot of professional photographers with me in my circle. I used to be in a wedding industry where you definitely have a professional wedding photographer, right? And they will pass me their DSLR. I'm like, okay, so you want me to take your team pictures. You're asking a wedding planner or slash coordinator who doesn't know anything about DSLR, and you want me to take a photos of your team with that, they just wanted to capture that moment. I'll just make sure. Can you please set everything? You just stand here, you set
yeah.
everything, you pass the
Just push,
camera to
just
me,
push this
I
button.
press. Yes.
I mean, what's more intimidating? Something like this or something like this? You know, if someone hands you this, you feel underqualified. Someone hands you like this, that's like, oh, I can do that. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that is the definite the benefit of a phone is that it's people probably use it more as a camera than they do as a phone these days. So
Oh yeah, yeah, I must agree with you. And when when the mobile phones, the what do you call that, the definitions got better, right? That was when I don't even buy any digital camera anymore. We are
mm,
just using our mobile phone. But anyway, so let's get back to the audience as well. How about
yeah,
all of you, how do you feel when it comes to DSLR and also mobile phones, and also the questions that we were asking, whether is it you're taking photos for yourself or you're taking photos for others? I think it's a very interesting topic that we can dive in later, where it comes
yeah.
to insights of a photo. But Nick, how photo becomes such an important thing in your life that you went on and study and become, study photography as well? Do you mind to share a little bit of your stories with us?
Yeah. Well, I've grown up in a family that's been very, very photography focused. My dad was a keen photographer and was always we were always surrounded by slides and photographs and travel stories and these incredible memories of them traveling through Europe and having using a film called Kodachrome 64 and taking slides and having these little pictures on little plastic frames in boxes and and then I
And
think it
that used
was
to project it out, right? I think we need to
yeah,
let the audience know, because I cross-checked with you during our discussion, and I kind of like verify. Is it something like it has colorful, like like a small square, and then where you put
yeah,
it on a projector and you can project out as if like you are watching it on our laptop right now, that kind of
yeah,
feeling?
or in a movie
That's
cinema
called, yeah,
slides,
what's that called again?
the slide
Photo,
projectors.
photo,
Oh,
what do you
Kodachrome.
mention there? Kodachrome,
It's
yeah.
yeah, that was Kodak's very, very famous film. So when you used to go and buy a film, you used to be able to buy negative film or slide film, and the slide film was like for people who really knew what they were doing because what you took is what you got. Whereas the negative film, you had a sort of intermediate process. It turned out as a negative, and then they'd print that, and you could make some adjustments. But a lot of professional photographers use slide film because there's not a lot of manipulation that you can take place. So if they take a photo and they hand that to the person who employs them, that's what they get. They don't get a photograph, they get a slide that is then reproduced. So that was in the old days. Now it's very digital. They get these massive digital 50 megapixel cameras and that sort of thing. So yeah,
Uh,
but
you know what? After
but my, go on.
after my discussion with you, I actually forgotten to check with my mom. Do we still have? Because I remember my dad kept like a box of that slides of me growing up. I
Yeah,
had that. I had that. But Nick, go back to your story. Like your family is very much into using
photography.
photos to
Yeah.
photography to kind of like keep memories, or
Yeah, well,
how
I
does
like
it work?
in my household, there was always lots of photo albums. That the photo albums were always in the shelves, and you would pull them out and you would have a look, and it would have a date next to it and where it was and who was in the photo, like almost like this is a very important moment. This is a moment in our history, and I used to almost have reverence for these photographs because they were a moment in time, a moment captured out of all of the time. This was the one, 125th of a second that was captured. And I grew up with that. I also grew up with the process of having those photographs taken. Okay, we're here at this amazing place. Go and stand over there. And my dad would get down and he'd take a photo this way, and then he'd say, just take another step to the right, and yeah, and then it would always take these photos. And then later on, you would get to see these photographs.
I
They'd come
want
up
to
as a picture.
ask.
Go
Yeah,
on.
while you are sharing this, I really want to ask our audience, how many of us here who have had the privilege of experience of standing there and your parents taking photos using a negative, using the film, the film
Yeah,
version, and there are all sorts of positions of taking the photos with the cameras. So all sorts of position, all right, to just
There
get
are.
the right camera, to just get the right image, because we don't know what we've gotten at that point of time. You don't
That's
have a
right.
screen to cross check, right? So how many in the audience right now actually gone through that phase? I have to admit, I've gone through that phase too. That
Yes.
show how much we what is our age range that we grow up with the film. Yeah.
Well, some places they don't even process that film anymore. Like some of the companies that used to produce, the biggest companies no longer produce film anymore for processing
Mm-hmm.
because it is a very, very niche market. There's just very few people that shoot film anymore. There was a big resurgence of Polaroid because it was very much like getting an instant print. You would take a photograph as a digital, it's a digital photograph, but it comes out as an instant print. So that Polaroid, and it goes, and puts the thing out the front, and then there's your photo, and you wave it around until it processed. There was a lot of that resurgence, through the early 2000s and into 2015, somewhere in that area, they pushed the Polaroid. But for me, I grew up with my dad taking photos, and then we traveled a lot internationally also. So dad was always taking photos, always sharing photographs. And that part of that was the process of coming home and then sorting through it and finding the best photograph of that place because there was only so much room you had in your photo album. And then I think it was probably when I was about 12 or so, my brother started taking photos also. And he had a camera and he took some amazing photographs just from part of school as his school
Mm-hmm.
photography. And so then I had like my dad and my brother taking photos. And I remember when we went to Europe, in 1986, I went to Hong Kong and we went to live in the UK for a while. And I went into Egypt with my parents. And this, I think, is where I really anchored that interest in photography.
Mm-hmm.
My high school had the ability for me to take photos, process photos, and print photos. And I loved it so much that I became so obsessed with it that I actually taught the photography class while I was in year 9 and year 10. That
Hmm.
luckily enough, the guy that was the photography teacher was just such an amazing guy that he just like, you love this, let's do it. And he would say, "No, Nick's going to take the class today." And I would just show them how to do stuff, and we'd go out and take photos, we'd come back and process them. And I think that really anchored a sense of identity in me, that I
Mm-hmm.
learnt that photography was something that I identified with and that I was good at, and that people
Wow.
respected me for what it was that I did. And as a 15-year-old, that was pretty significant, as an
Mm-hmm.
identity formation. And that led almost to the formation of who I am today. I'm 51 now, and I'm still, love what I do. And this the process of sharing that and sharing the skill and sharing the insights led to me going on to be a straight A photography student in high school. In 1988, I traveled Australia as a year 12
Mm-hmm.
student and took photos for the bicentennial year and published something which was like a calendar of my insights. So it was like, I'm being recognized, I'm doing really well. And that was like, okay, when I finish school, I'm going off. I'm going off to be a photographer. This is what I want to do. I
Wow.
want to I want to shoot beautiful women in bikinis on the beach, and I want to travel
I
the
like
world.
that.
And I travel the world. It's just like what a glamorous life. And I did do stuff like that. I did go off and shoot
Mm-hmm.
beautiful women on the beach and travel photos and small product photos. But I was missing something, and I ended up studying a degree in photography.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, it was very much a commercial photography degree about learning how to photograph ice properly and bottles and spraying them and learning all the skills for studio photography, architecture. And in the process of doing that, I learnt that there are certain types of photographs that I'm good at and that I
Mm-hmm.
really identify with, and other ones which are just like There are people who just take
Okay.
and see that so well that I just, maybe I just focus on what I'm good at rather than let them focus on what they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And I met my wife at that time. I moved states and I ended up studying a postgraduate qualification in photography. And so
Mm-hmm.
I actually went off to be a teacher. And it was like I'd continued that same thing from high school and gone full circle to being the teacher again, teaching photography. And I I loved it. I loved that skill. I love that, sharing and seeing the joy in people when they were able to do the same thing that I could do. And it was like that full circle. And I continue to do that to this day, to teach people to take what they see in their head and put it into a material thing, like on a computer screen and now we
Mm.
have Photoshop, which just complicates things so much more. It's not together in reality, but if you take that photo and that photo, you can put them together, and then that's what's in your head, like the imagination. So yeah, I I love that journey, and I think where I'm heading to is that the importance of that was that I was able to share photos with my family also. And to this day, I still share photos with my dad, and I still share photos, and he goes on a trip and he sends me photos, and we sort of show each other what we're doing, and we connect there. And
Mm.
my brother, not so much anymore. He doesn't take photos or he doesn't share the photos that he does take. But when I turned when I turned 40, my dad gave me a photo album. And it was like, okay, I've got a photo album, and it's my 40 years of Nick. And it had photos from when I was really small, like a little baby photos, all the way through to when I was 40 years of age to that date. So all the main events in my life, my first day of school, traveling with my parents, it even had little crazy things like school photos from when I was in grade one um, and trips that I'd been overseas with them that they'd kept photos and they'd done. I think it was a plot because they did things like I went to the same place twice in Fiji and they took a photo of me when I was like 11 and when I was
Uh-huh.
17 sort of thing or 20. I think it was like 20 years old, so 10 years later the same photo, me standing at the same place, but
Mm-hmm.
but as a young adult. And so I think that was really significant to me because it contained memories that I had forgotten,
Mm.
photographs that had almost lived with me for my life, and then to have them as mine. My dad does this. He does this. He did this for my brother, and he did this for my sister also. They were older than me, so there was sort of like this anticipation that it was coming, but what was
Like when you
that
are
he
40,
saw?
what will it present it to you, the album?
Yeah, but it's also that fascinating story about what is it in 40 years of photography that my dad has chosen and my mum has chosen to put into this album because these are significant moments that they see in my life as photographs, as a document of this is your life.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Nick,
So,
I'm going to pause you here a little bit because there are
yep.
quite a lot of comments or I would say conversation that's going on while you were sharing,
Okay.
and I'm just
Yep.
going to pull it out one by one. Lee's over here. I only know how to use mobile phone to capture photos. I mean, Lee's, you're not alone. I'm with you as well. I love capturing snapshots of views that I fancy and share it with my community. Also, yummy food sharing. I
Mm,
think food photos has
food.
become such a big thing right now because of the convenience of mobile phone. Yeah, Nick?
But I also think that food photography is a cultural link. Like I know that from living in Singapore for 12 years, taking photos of food is like the first thing you do. You sit down, you go, oh, look what I've got. I'll take a photo of it and then I'll eat it. But I'll share it first
Yeah.
to show. So for me, if someone sat down in Australia and took a photo of the meal that I sat down to serve them, it's like that's a bit strange. But it's what's important, and that's what we're heading towards. It's like what you choose to photograph is what is important to you. You want to
Wow.
capture that moment. You want to preserve that memory in a physical
Mm-hmm.
way so that you can either share it or review it again later.
You know what,
So,
Nick, as you are sharing this, right? I remember I have had a comment of a friend who I think she is about 10, 15 years senior than me, older than me. And then when we
still young,
exchange our
still young.
yeah, yeah, still young. So when we exchange our Instagram,
Mm.
Instagram is all about photography, correct? It's all about
Yeah,
images that you share, that you capture and you
the
share about your
reason it
life.
the reason it was invented.
That's yes, that's the reason of Instagram existence. So what she was saying about me that really got me into thinking. She said, when you open Christina's Instagram, it's all about food. And that really
Yeah.
hit me like, yeah, food is important to me. Like what you say,
Mm.
whatever that you capture is actually what importance to you. And I realized that food was important to me. And then because of that comment, it made me reflect myself. Should
Self-conscious.
I pay should I pay attention to other things as well beside food? That's where
Mm.
I start to appreciate nature. I start to
Maybe you
capture
should have
nature.
a Christina food page. You scroll through your food, and then another Instagram account which is just for you know other
Other
things that you're
things.
interested in. Or you
Let us
find out
just
which
go
one you want
through
to post to.
Let us just go through all the comments together. We have Sylvia. Hi, Nick and Christina, with a heart shape to you,
Hi
Pyong back.
Sylvia.
Yeah, we have Leeds. I have a photo album with nature scenery for savoring purpose. Wow, that's beautiful.
Mm.
We have Lau. I'm fascinated to hold DSLR at the same time, feeling stressed and afraid it may. I know it
Mm.
may drop. What
Yeah.
pressure I have is what if I always make sure the belt is behind my neck because I am so afraid I'm going to drop that DSLR. What I did is pretend to be professional photographer. Wow, nice. So we have
Yeah.
Jean. Is it Jean?
Jean. Hey Jean.
Yes. A lot of hardship. Pyong, pyong, pyong. Back to you. I think these are the answers to the question that we talk about where, parents taking out photos, where you are sharing. And then I was like asking
Yeah.
the audience, do you remember we have to post there for a very long time and for them to pose and take photos? And we have here me, I'm 80s. Yeah. And I think this comment is to relate to you taking bikinis, beautiful ladies, and at the beach, Nick, in Hawaii. We have
Yeah.
Sylvia Wagner. Good morning from snowy Vienna. Good opportunity to take great photos. We have
Yes, I saw
Pascal,
your
great
photos this
photographer, Nick.
morning. I saw your photos, Sylvia, and Pascal's photos.
All
In fact,
right,
it's
and
snowing where they are.
a very thick snow as well. And
Mm.
Pascal is saying, love your photos from Peru, which we are going to show it later.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Yes. And Lau, wow, Nick, I really can feel your passion in the entire journey of photographer and sharings. I believe it would be good. It would be a good bonding time with yourself and family members. Can feel
it
it.
is.
So,
We can talk a
Nick,
bit about that because that's
yes.
something that I do now. I am known as the official photographer for the sports team that my boys are in, and every sport that they play comes with me, you know. So when they're playing their sport, I turn up on the sideline with this, you know. I
The
take
big one.
photos of the big one, and everyone who's there goes, "Oh, okay, I'll stop taking photos because I know that Nick's going to share those photos to the team." And then I have other people, and what's happening now is that the word's out that Nick, if your team is playing my boys' team, they come over and they go, "Can you share the photos that you take?" I'm thinking,
You mean the
I should get,
opposite opposition
yeah,
opposition team?
yeah. The coaches come over. They go, we've seen the stuff that you put up on Facebook. Do you reckon you could share that with us? Share the album with us. And secretly, I go through and I delete all the other team. But because I take thousands of photos of a football game, I might take 1,500 photos, and that could be, somewhere like maybe 30 to 40 gigabytes of photos, and that's just untenable to keep that number of photographs on a hard
Yeah.
drive. So my laptop I'm sitting on here right now, 85% of it is dedicated to photographs. and the rest is
Wow.
just I delete, just so I keep my photographs. So I do use a Google photo drive. So everything that I photograph gets backed up into the Google Cloud, and I love that. And that's something that I encourage everyone to do, is to use
Mm-hmm.
some sort of cloud-based backup for their photographs, because they don't realize how important the memories are that they're making with their photographs.
Mm,
So,
mm.
and also the ability to share. So, and comment, and I do things, crazy stuff, that facial recognition now that's going through Facebook that they've turned off. I love that. I love facial recognition, because then I can find one kid and I go, all the photos, the parent says to me, have you got any photos of little Johnny? And I go, I'm sure I've got photos of little Johnny. What does he look like? And they say, find all these photos. And then they go, oh my God, that's incredible. So technology is incredible if you're using it for the right reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to pull out some photos to go through it together. And,
Yeah.
like, who is this, Nick?
Well, you can see by the good looks, that's me. So this is me. This is me getting out of my cot on Christmas morning. Now, my birthday is the 23rd of December. So
Mm-hmm.
Christmas itself is this massive festival, because my sister, who's my older sister, her birthday is the 24th of December. And then we
Wow.
have Christmas. So it's the Coulter festival of present giving. So this is one of the photos that I have really remembered throughout my life. And the thing that I really question is how much of this photograph is the memory of this photograph reconstructed in my head because of the photograph? Or
Mm,
did I see this photograph and reconstruct this memory from my
mm,
memory? I go, oh, I remember this moment. I remember being there. But then as a photographer, I appreciate this photograph even more, because this is Christmas morning and my dad took this photograph. My dad took this photograph of me getting out of my cot going, presents. So he would have had to have been there with his film camera taking photos of me getting out of my cot, and being there, and having the right settings and the aperture and the shutter speed and the eye and the right film, because you didn't have that option. And I just feel, it's a really special gift that I have been given by my parents, my dad in particular, with this memory. And then, he stays there and he goes on. And here I am in that joy of that moment,
of
opening
opening the
my
present.
presents and
Yeah.
exploring it. And I feel that in this photograph. And what's so crazy is I remember I remember that ball, and I remember that spinning top and that kaleidoscope. So it's like this is the moment where I received these things, and it's a pivotal sort of memory for me. But also, my dad and my mum were there taking these photos, and I had an older brother and older sister. But this is what they chose to do at that point in that time, is to capture this moment, and I think that's really special.
And I feel, and I feel to also relate this back to the audience, sometimes, as we grow up, we look back to all the photos that our parents take. It's really like what you say. Do I actually have that inside me? Or because since young I've been looking at this photograph and therefore I thought I have this memory of this particular
Yeah,
incident or this
moment. Yeah,
particular event, or yeah, this moment. So I feel, what, to all the audience, maybe it's time, if you have that opportunity, if your parents or even you still have that few albums. I'm the eldest, Nick, so somehow compare me with my two younger brothers. I have
mm.
more albums compared with my younger brothers.
I yeah,
My mom always said about my dad that, the first child always get the most attention, and
yeah,
he willing to spend all the film monies and to just capture
yeah.
every moment. Then the second child, like maybe 20% less of the excitement, and then the
Hmm.
third child is like 50% less of the
Yeah.
excitement.
In
But
the background.
nonetheless, Yeah, in the background. But nonetheless, all of us have our own album. And I
Mm,
feel, while Nick is sharing this, I would also love to hear from the audience. Does it give you that nostalgic moment, like you start to think back, all
mm.
this moment, all this happy moment that were captured by your parents? Will you be able to appreciate these photos differently right now as we speak? Yeah, Nick, I think
It'd
it's a
be,
very
it'd
good
be,
thing.
I'd love, like, I don't know how we'd do this, but I'd love to see photos that people could share in the chat on the Facebook or wherever it is, on the Facebook. God, I sounded like 100 years old then. Um, share on the Facebook. The photos that they have that they actually do have memories of as children. Like, this is a moment that I remember, or maybe one that's a photo that you can't remember, but you're in. It's like, I can't
Mm.
remember anything about this. It's a completely detached memory. Like, obviously, there's a photo of me as a baby in my album, and I look like some sort of Bond criminal. I'm sitting there and I've got my fingers together and I feel like I'm planning and plotting. I can't remember that memory, but it's just such a beautiful photo of me sitting there. It's very conscious and I'm awake and I'm here and watch out. And I can't remember that, but I still know that that's me. I know that that's me. So there must be photos that you have in your in your repertoire of photos that you have that you can't remember, or like the earliest memory where you're in it as a photograph. I love that. And this is for me, this is where I'm at with this photograph. I do vaguely remember this, but then I am challenged by that. Is this a memory that I have, or is it a constructed memory?
Yeah, I like that. And let's move to the next image. And
Ah,
who is this lovely boy over here?
well, if people don't know, I have twins, and this is one of them. This is Riley, and he is about a year old, and we have a we had, past tense by the way, a tough camera, like one of those ones that are just bulletproof. You drop it on the floor, you throw it in the water, and we used to give it to the boys to take photos. And I was saying that this is like his first selfie that I really love. And it's not a conscious effort to take a selfie. It's just the
Mhm.
moment of him connecting with the camera and getting this photo. So I did not take this photo. This is him taking the photo. And it's just such a beautiful moment. And he's connected to the camera. But, as a selfie, this isn't not about where I am, who I'm with. You think about all the reasons you take selfies, but this is probably one of those photographs that would go into Riley's 40-year album, his 40th birthday album. And it's so much easier to do these days with, digital assets. That photo goes in the album. That photo goes in the album. So we could start doing this right from today if you've got little kids. So yeah, so this is a beautiful photo of him, and his brother is an identical twin. He's got similar types of photos, but just for the purposes of today, this is one of him on the couch connecting with a digital camera. And the funny, and
You
I
know
think I
what?
mentioned this earlier, the funny story is he ended up destroying this camera. Yeah, so
Oh, really?
undoing it underwater. So it's a waterproof camera,
Wow.
except when you open the battery compartment.
Well, I
Uh,
truly love this image because it's just so charming, the way he looks at the camera, but it's
mm,
not like looking into the camera. It's like as if he's looking into his own eyes. It's like as if he's looking
mm,
at a mirror. It makes me feel like as though he's looking at a mirror. Yeah.
yeah,
So that is one of the things that I really love about this. And you talk about the sports just now.
yeah. So yeah, this is my boys play in Australian football, and
Hmm.
they are what are called ruckmen. So they're tall, they're 6'3", and they're 14 years of age. And so they throw the ball up and they have to knock the ball to their team players. And they're about a head taller than all of their friends on the team. And I take photos of their team because, there are just some magical moments in sport that are not captured in the feel and the energy of the game. And a lot of these kids are incredibly athletic, and they do these
Mm,
crazy physical feats of leaping and jumping and kicking, and when you capture it in a moment like this, you can see that it's quite an athletic moment where they're jumping around and being in the moment. But then when I share those photos back, they form two different purposes. One is that my boys get to see themselves playing sport, and they can see
mhm,
the athleticism that they have. And the second one is that their friends can bond and share moments about this and look back and see this as a game, and they can review the game. And the other audience that I have is the coaches. The coaches go through the photographs and they go, oh, that position, that kid's not in the right position,
mhm,
he should be closer to the play. So they actually go through and look at the photos later, and they go, yeah, okay, we've got to bring this up with this kid, he should be standing over there, not here. So they use them as coaching notes also. So the different audiences take different things from them. This is Riley jumping,
mm,
knocking the ball away. So this, for me, this is what I do. This is something that I do to connect and give as a gift from my skill. And the purpose of taking it is so that they can see themselves. Like I literally might take 900 to 1,000 photographs in a football game, and then
mhm,
share out maybe 300 of those. And then each kid would go through and find all the photos of them and save the photos of them. And then they'll end up on their laptops, or they'll end up on their phone screen, or because it's them, and it's like a celebration of those kids. It's like, this is me. Look at how awesome I am. And if we can share moments like that with kids, and 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 endorse the strength and these positive moments in them, I think
mhm.
any opportunity that you have to do that is brilliant.
I think you know what, Nick, as you're talking about this and I'm appreciating the images, I guess when we were watching any games, we like what we had kind of like had discussion before. When we were watching the games, our eyes won't be able to capture this kind of moments. We are actually
Mm,
following the balls or or the
yeah,
race much more. But when you kind of slow down with this and you capture, this is the first time that you will see how high they jump, like what you just shared, how high they jump,
yeah,
what kind of that kind of energy that they have, and that passion that they have towards the games. It's being documented in a photograph, and that also makes sense. What are the you take this photograph with a simple intention, but different people uses it differently, and I
yeah.
find it very interesting as well to actually see it this way.
But what's really funny is that I walk past people on the sideline, like, and they go, you know, and they go,
And maybe they will start
where do I
take
get your photos
not
from?
yeah, like I think maybe I shouldn't take, I'll just ask him.
Yeah. And there's some people, like, I walk past and they say, oh, you've got a Canon camera, do you? And I go, do you want to borrow my lens? And they go, can I just have a look? Can I just have a look through it? Can I have a look at through? And they go, wow, you can get really close. And I say, yeah, you can. That's why this is good for taking photos of the family, and this is good for taking photos of sport, and so, the tools we do talk about, don't let the tool get in the way of taking the photo. If you can take the photo first and then work it out later. Just
Mm.
try and capture the moment first. So, yeah, it's really good.
And like my admin at the back is also saying like she really loves your purpose as well. It's all about sharing the positive moment, sharing the love, sharing that happiness, sharing that
Mm,
to that our kids or whoever the parents who are to see this image, the opposition team, like what you say,
mm.
they can also appreciate their kids effort into it, their kids talents as well. And this is what make it so beautiful, that you capture moments like this. Yeah, Nick.
Yeah. I love hearing back also because I don't understand how these photos are used by parents. But what I did find out was that after the game, I go home and I spend a couple of hours going through and sorting these out. But parents and kids, they put it on slideshow and they watch them during dinner and they go, "Oh yeah, I remember that." So it's actually in a way it's like reliving the game for them. And most and what happens is you get a lot of post-game criticism. You get a lot of kids that get into the car and they're on the trip home and they go, "Oh, the umpire was really bad," or, "I didn't do this," or "Someone else didn't do this in my team." But often what I do is I share the positive moments. I share the moments where they did do well, they did excel, they did do amazing things. So they reconnect in that positivity rather than
Mm.
in the criticism of what they didn't do, but what they did do well. And that's sort of where I'm at. Is I'm very much about focusing on what you're good at, not avoiding your weaknesses or finding and fixing your things that you're not good at. So yeah.
I'm gonna continue to show some of the images that you have selected, but before that, let me just pull out some comments. We have Lee's amazing shorts. I think
Thank you.
Lee's has children as well. That might be an inspiration for you to do something similar for your children in the future. Liz, over there.
Yeah.
We have Sylvia. Nick, you sound so happy when you share about photography. We have over here, when I look back my pictures when I was young, I can't remember anything. We have Pascal. I know what you mean. I have two HDs of
Hard drives.
4 terabyte to save. Oh yeah, hard drives to save all raw data. Taking photos is fun. Processing 1,000 photos less fun. We have
Yeah.
Lise over
Depending on how
here
picky you are, Pascal.
agreeing. Yeah,
Mm.
we have Lise over here agreeing to the yay.
Yeah.
I think your dad's move of a album at the year 40 years old kind of might be inspiring a lot of young parents to do something similar for their
Yeah.
children, because nowadays everything is captured in mobile phones. One
I
day
think it's
you
a
can
I
have
think it's
like
a
what, few
wonderful idea.
hundred photos. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Let me just skip a few photos. We just go into this one. I'm just go straight to
Ah,
this
is
decisive
not my
moment.
photograph.
Yes.
This is not mine. This is by a very famous French photographer called Henri Cartier-Bresson. And I wanted to just show this photograph because this is quintessential of what the type of street photography and the type of photography that I do and I teach about photography. And this is a photograph that was included in a book which was called The Decisive Moment. And
Mm-hmm.
it it talks about how a photograph is a moment in time, but a photographer who has the ability to capture the decisive moment is the moment that tells the story what happened before and also encourages people to think about what's going to happen next. So the narrative of the photograph is the decisive moment, your ability to capture a moment in time which is more than just that moment. That it's this beautiful story of this guy that's in a hurry, running through behind a train station, running across this ladder that just happened to be in this puddle. And it creates this
Mm-hmm.
moment of stillness also where he's just about to touch the water, but he's not touching the water. That there's this mirror image of him in the water, which would have been, probably destroyed by him touching the water. And we're not talking about a digital camera here. We're talking about a bulky, camera that was used to capture
Box.
this in 1932. Yeah, not a box brownie. We're past box brownies, but it's definitely a film camera where you take the
Mm-hmm.
photo, then it takes a while to wind on and get the next photo. So, his skill in capturing the moment stemmed not just from this photo, but into the life of people who were the average person on the street. He didn't photograph royalty or well-to-do people. He photographed people like kids coming home from getting the groceries, and he photographed people watching sport or having a picnic on the side of the river. And they were moments in social history. And when we look back at photographs, when we look back at artworks, these are the artifacts of our history. We know the most about ourselves by the artifacts we leave behind. So when we look at cave paintings, it's like, whoa, we used to love like throwing spears at things, and they found out that if you created the image of an animal on the wall, it evoked the spirit of that, and you're more likely to actually have a successful hunt because the spirit is closer. Um, for us, when we capture photographs, we're not thinking about how successful the hunt's going to be. I think we're past running around fields throwing spears at things, but the purpose of the imagery that we create these days is still really important. And whether that's be for the selfie because you're self-obsessed, or you want to show exactly where you are in a time and you want to send it out to your friends because you're celebrating an achievement, or then we have the Wi-Fi, the expansion of not just me, but it's who I'm with. That's the really interesting side of photography, or the food, or whatever it is. That's the thing I really want people to think about is, why am I taking this photo and who's it for? And then you've got a great point. When you scroll down your Instagram, what is it that is the common subject matter? Or what is the common reason for taking a photograph and sharing it? Because you'll probably have photos that you took that you don't share, that they're just for you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Like I have a beautiful series of photographs of my wife when she was pregnant with the boys. But I think she'd kill me if I shared them on social media.
I was about to ask you, do you secretly take photos of your wife and then just surprise her as a gift or something like that? Do you do that?
No, 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 I don't. I mean, there are times when we go walking or something like that, and she is in the photograph because she's walking ahead of me, and it's great because she's good scale. In the photograph, it's good to have scale. Um, but no, I don't really have. I do have a voyeuristic quality to my photographs. When I travel, I don't go up to people and I go, "Can I take your photograph?" You know, Often I'll take the photo first and then ask later because I want that candid quality to my photographs. I want to capture the people who are there and where I'm going. So, it's really, when I look back at my Instagram, I love places and I love people. They're the sorts of things that I look at. Rarely do I take a photo of food that I'm eating. So,
I'm going to pull out some comment over here. It never come to me before sharing positive moments through photo rather than criticism. This positive vibes extended in discussion among the children. I think
mm.
this is a good comment over here, and also it's a good realization. We also have Frank. I believe it's
Ah,
someone that you know.
hello, Dad.
Another great moment you are sharing with your parents, Nick. Hello,
Yes.
Frank.
Hi, Dad.
Um,
Hi, Mum. I'm sure you're watching.
I have a photos that he put it up. I think it's the right time that I'm going to pull it out right now. Let's see. Hello.
Yeah, here he is. I actually asked for them to send me photos because, this is part of who I am now, as this sort of adventuring and going out and traveling the world and recording it in my own prosperity of where we've been. And I had great respect for some of the photographs, and some of the photos are just spectacular of, mirror imaged of lakes and mountains and places that they've been and the stories that come with it. And I feel that a lot of photographs lack that now. They're just, a
Mm.
photograph is taken as a photograph and it's expected to speak for itself. But not everyone is that not everyone has that capability of creating the photograph that tells the whole decisive moment. So having conversations around the photograph is what the original like slide night was. People would come around and you'd show them the holiday photos, and people would go, "Oh my God, there's like 500 photographs." But now we're in a visual culture where people are expected to be able to read a photograph and understand a photograph and interpret it because we are in a visual culture. Even in Facebook and that, we use images because we want people to emotively connect with something. But when we see these photographs and I see, and I look at mum and dad in their photographs, and I think here they are, in at the Arctic Circle in 1961, and they've travelled across Europe and through that in a combi van with another family, and it's just like that. There's a whole story there that forms the importance of why photography was so important at that time for them, is that they can revisit these memories and they can share those memories with someone like myself who wasn't there but is so connected to them.
Nice, nice, nice. I'm going to pull out some of your images so that you can also share. I love this. A
I think we
portrait
were
of a
on
pink man.
a bit. Yeah, it's just this is not necessarily an official title, but it's just like, how do I think about this photograph? And this photograph was taken with this type of camera, big, fat, full, long lens. But when you see things like this, where there's this person wearing the same outfit, leaning against the same wall, and it's just the colors, and it's just like, what a great photograph. There's this moment. I think, oh, probably I should have included his feet, but I think he was wearing some different colored shoes or something. It would have ruined the composition. But I just love the fact that he's connected to me. I'm standing probably 50 meters away from him. I'm not
And he
standing close
know
to
that
him.
you're taking photos.
Yeah, because I'm this white fella in India, in some back street, in a village where they barely see, tourists. Here I am walking around, with my white hat on, and I'm looking very touristy. I always look like an American tourist when I travel because I got big camera gear and I wear loud shirts and that sort of thing. But there's this guy looking directly at me. I'm taking his photo, and if they don't sort of go, don't take my photograph, I'm happy to take their photograph. So I've got about 5 different photos of this guy leaning against the wall and talking and looking sideways. But this is the one that I really connect with. And often what I will do is, if they're there, I will then go over and show them the photograph that I took of them. And they're always like,
Wow.
oh, that's really cool. I don't know what he said because he didn't speak English, but I showed him the photo afterwards and he was like, that's cool. I like that. That's a good representation of me. Um, and it's a nice moment, and the colors, they all just go well together. So there's another one there, isn't there, of another guy?
Uh,
We've got, yeah, so this is the same village in Bangalore. We're staying just nearby on a retreat. And this guy just came and stuck his head out through the fence, and there's a very strong connection to you in the subject, but I just really like that connection that you have with people. I don't know this person, and I'm looking at him through a lens, like, through this sort of thing. He doesn't connect with me, but I believe I have that ability to help people relax a little when I'm taking their photo, even though I have
mhm.
intimidating camera gear, big camera bag, loud shirt, look like a tourist. People seem to have the ability to relax a little when I take their photo. So I think that's a skill or an energy that I hold, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to share that, and it changes the dynamic of the photograph that you capture.
Mm-hmm. And I guess this is more of a similar things as well.
Yeah, the same type of thing is, there's this color, from a compositional perspective, from a color perspective, from elements and principles of design, there's this nice cohesion in this image. But also, when we talk about composition, we always use this rule, like the rule of thirds, where you break something up into 9 little squares or
Yeah, the
thirds,
grid
thirds,
lines that we all have
the
on
grid
our
lines.
mobile phones.
Yeah, and if you don't have it, turn them on because it'll improve your photographs. I have it, I've got degrees in photography, been taking photos for 40 years, sort of thing. So, and I still have the grids on my phone. They are important. They're just a visual reminder. Yeah. So,
Well, let's pull out some comments before we go further. A lot of our photos are posed now like model poses instead of
yeah.
showing your authentic self. Everyone is unique how they are. Speaking of this, Nick, when you are taking images like like the one that you are sharing with us over here, do they actually pose for you after they realize you are taking photos of them, or it was really pure candid shot and the
They're just,
moment
yeah,
shot.
all the photos I take, I never say to someone, hey, can you just put your hand like this? Or, put that down. Don't hold that. I'm trying to take your photo. Everything that I photograph is a moment, is a document. It's not a constructed reality. I never reach forward and take something out of the photograph because it's going to ruin my photograph. I will probably move to change the composition, but you learn the more photos you take and the more what you're looking at, you can actually see a photograph before you put a camera to your face. And sometimes the photo is just screaming out at you to take the photograph. It's like, take my photograph. And you're just like, I got to change lens because I'm too close. Or so, yeah, for me, it's that natural quality of the place. You don't travel, 20 hours in an aeroplane to go to a place and then ask someone to change because it's not going to be a good photograph for you. I definitely feel that realism is important in photography when I'm taking my photographs. You know, how I choose to be there and how I choose to represent that is really an ethical thing too. I don't go to take photographs of the squalid conditions or those sorts of things. I photograph things from a very celebratory perspective because I love to celebrate the places that I go to. I don't go there to be terrorized and tormented by them. But someone like a war photographer or someone who's doing social documentation, they're also doing that same thing. They're there to photograph things as they are, but from a certain perspective. So for me, as a tourist, I go there to photograph the culture and what I see.
Well, speaking of that, do you actually put in any kind of like a intention when you do take photograph or when you take an image, or is it important for us to be a little bit more mindful when we are taking photos? What would be
Oh,
your
yeah.
view on this?
Well, I think we started really well with that. It's like, what's the intention of taking the photograph? You have photographs which are, the arty photos. I'm going to take this because I really like the colors and I really like the feel of it. Or there's ones that like when you take a photograph of a sunset, you're not thinking, oh, I wish it was a slightly different color. You've been
Mm,
inspired by what you see and you want to record that moment. So the intention is to record it as best as possible. Um, there's a lot of criticism, and there's actually the hashtag, no filter, on when
uh-huh.
people share photos, no filter. It's like,
Yeah.
that this is what I saw. This is, it hasn't got any effects put on it or anything like that. So for me, the intention that I have is, first of all, if I'm traveling, this is the decision I make. This or this. Do I take a
Mm,
photo with a phone and I just share it out, or do I take a photo that later on I really want to be, the quality, and I want to zoom and crop and perhaps, alter slightly the color exposure somehow. But I'm not looking to alter reality. I'm looking to make it more as what it was.
mm-hmm.
So the intention is really for me, I use my phone to photograph receipts. You know, that is not an artistic photograph. That is a document. That is an objective reality. You don't want your accountant to go, well, I really like the colors that you've used, but it's not a really good copy of a receipt. So I just feel that, you need to check your own perspective. What's this photograph for? Who's the audience? And does it matter if it's realistic, or is it more about the color, or what is it that inspired you to take the photograph in the first place? And that's what you focus on. Is it the person's eyes?
Wow.
Someone looked at you and you went, wow, they have really cool eyes, or the color of their shirt, or the location, the color, the blue sky. If it's the blue sky, then make the photograph more about the sky than about the ground. And that's the intention that you teach someone. It's like, ask yourself, what is it that I'm photographing? Because a lot of people are too far away from what they're first of all inspired by. They say, oh, there's a person standing way over there. I'm going to take their photograph. It's like, walk over, go closer to them. Or, I love the color of the ground and the reflection. You know, as a photographer, you only photograph the way that light reflects off an object. It's just
Light
such a,
reflects off an object.
yeah, you don't photograph an object. It's just like, okay, do your head in. Okay. As a photographer, a photograph is a light drawing. We are capturing the light that's coming into the camera. So what I think of this is a photograph of the way that the light is reflecting off this object. Can I capture that light in a different way? Can I capture it in a better way? Can I capture the light coming off there? You know, would it be better if I go to like if in Nepal, you might see something you think, oh, this would be really good at night, with all the
Mm.
lights. During the day, it's just, there's not much happening. It's all brown and dusty and that sort of stuff. But if I come back here at night, this is going to be a spectacular place. The light here would be different, or first thing in the morning, or late in the afternoon. They all have different qualities. So just remember when you're taking a photograph, it's the way that the light is reflecting off an object. So, silhouette.
I feel it's also reflecting of how we see things as well, right?
Mm,
Every
yeah,
like every person, maybe you and I go onto the same spot, we might take different things because it also reflects how I see things. It's like what you say, the object light. Will I be able to capture the lights reflects on the object? It's
yeah,
also how the reality reflects for me as well. Maybe I actually like the singing bowl behind you rather than the crystal. Some might actually look at
yeah,
the crystal rather than the singing bowl.
yeah. And as a visual arts teacher who specialized in photography, the thing that really I want people to do is to value themselves and the way that they capture something, the way, and we call it a personal aesthetic, the way that they represent, the way that they see the world, the way that they photograph something, the way that they if I put two photos next to each other, it's just for instance, we've got Pascal here. If we put Pascal's photos of where he's been and my photos next to each other, we can definitely see the difference in the aesthetic of the photograph. Pascal likes to take photos on a 50mm lens, and he's got a very high quality camera, and he has this incredible sharpness to his photographs. Whereas my photographs, I prefer to take photos with a longer lens and step further away and more voyeuristic, and I capture moments where Pascal's got this beautiful quality of connecting with at a close, very strong connection to the subject at a closer proximity. And I mean, Pascal's here, so he can probably go, yes, I agree, or no, you've got me completely wrong. But yeah, it's really nice to see from a photographer's perspective also that there's another person who's very passionate and very qualified and very technically minded to see what they will take a photograph of when you're in the same place. And then, and sometimes it might be like, oh, I'm not going to take that photo because Pascal is taking the photo. It's just like, he will do a better job of taking that photo than I will, and I will take a photo of something that I'm really drawn to. Um, yeah. So it's that personal aesthetic is something that you'll see in your own photographs. Usually with things like filters. Do you have a filter that you constantly use on Instagram? Like, I really like it when the colors are really orange, or I really like it when there's a lot of red in my photographs, or you'll find it. You look at people's Instagrams and they've always got this same look. They've got the default filter. Um, I use a thing called Snapchat, not Snapchat, Snapseed. That's an app on your phone, Snapseed, and you can it says apply last filter settings, and it's like, oh, that's good. I like that. It looks nice, so I'll use the same one. It says apply last filter settings. Oh yeah, I like that. It's like that's my look. I like that look. So yeah, I think that
if
answers it.
if Yes, yes, yes. What I mean, so far you have been taking photograph professionally, and then move into using it as a form of connecting with your family, and then also still preserving that photograph as a documentary of your family, or all your
Mm.
memories, or all the sweet moments. If if there's one thing that you would like to share with the audience, that one takeaway, what photos have teachers, or what photos have taught you so far through photos?
Oh, um, I think the thing that I've learnt is that often the things that are the most special to you are the things that you don't see as obvious. That when I look back at photographs in that magic moment, the memory of like I have a number of different photo storage things. Like Google Photos will send you a thing that, on this day 17 years ago, this is what you were doing. And I just think, oh, I was at the beach and I took a photo of a shell and I remember that moment. It was really nice, you know. Or, here I am and I was taking photographs of something that I had made, just as a document. I got into ceramics for a while and I was photographing my cups at different stages. That's like, I've got that cup in that cupboard, you know. I made that and this is that creative moment. So don't don't underestimate when you're taking a photograph of photographing just the simplest things. The simplest things can often be sometimes really treasured memories. And it can be the photo of your kid getting an award on a certain day. It's not an artistic photograph. It's not something that you're going to necessarily print out on the wall, but it is a really significant moment for you to capture, because that moment could also be something which is really precious to your kids, or to your partner, or whatever it is. The photographs that we used to see as people getting their degrees or that sort of stuff with their family, and you'd see that, or the wedding photos at our wedding. My wife and I, we gave everyone little Instamatic cameras, like little compact instant cameras, and we put them on the tables, and we asked people to take photos for us during our wedding. And the photos that were taken were just like, fun photos of people at the table that a professional photographer who was at the wedding would never have been able to capture, because they were photos of our friends photographing our friends, that we weren't there, but they were recording moments that we missed as
Mm.
as participants in our own wedding. And when we go back and we see those photos, it's like those are things that are really precious. And I think that's why I think something like that 40th album for me is so important, is that, there are moments that as a person I now value as a photographer, that, my parents had the foresight to actually think that this is going to be a good idea. I'm sure that Dad, when my sister was 4 years old, or 5 or 6 or 7, wasn't thinking this is going to be good in the 40th birthday album. He's probably thinking this is going to be an incriminating photo for the 21st or something like that. But what do you do after the 21st? You turn it into an album for your 40th. I'm sure that there's probably the opportunity for a 50th album too. But you know, there's so much that happens in those years that you share with your parents, and then for Dad to have then taken the time to curate an exhibition of me, it's a bit like
Mm-hmm.
the family, this is your life. So,
Mm.
if people are taking photographs, I think, it may not necessarily be for you that you're taking this photograph. It may be this photo may be given away as an artifact, as an heirloom, a very important thing. People are doing DNA things, that ancestry.com thing where you go through and you find out and you do your DNA and then you track it back. People are uploading photographs, and I've found photographs of my ancestors from like 1800s. These portraits
Wow.
that are brown and, these rugged looking settlers in Australia. But that's like, wow, this is gold, to find a photograph of an ancestor from the 1850s. I just think we are living in a digital age where there are literally billions of photographs being taken every minute and
Mm.
stored and shared. And I think someone has to value them, you know, someone has to have an audience for those billions of photos. That's phenomenal. I want to share one thing
Okay.
just before
Yes.
we finish up,
Yeah,
because I'd
but
like to
I, I
talk this.
know
Yeah, go.
I know you want to share about that, but I'm gonna pull out a comment for you first.
Okay.
So Pascal over here, I listened carefully what you said. I
Mm,
agree. I love to take photos of emotions on faces and details. So,
Yeah.
so that's the comment towards what you have commented. But I didn't know you wanted to share about this.
Yeah, I think I think that the thing that about this is like the photographer's journey for me. It's like, you scroll through your Facebook and you scroll through TripAdvisor and you see all these incredible locations of the world, right? And one of them was Rainbow Mountain. And if you haven't ever been to Rainbow Mountain, I think there's another photo here. This is Rainbow Mountain. It's the colored sands um, in just near Cusco in the Sacred Valley. And I just thought this place is incredible, these colored sands. So I had the opportunity to go to Peru with the Golden Space Retreat, and I thought bucket list, photo of Rainbow Mountain off my own camera. So
Okay.
I organized a tour guide to get me there, and we went out crack of dawn, drove hours, then walked, and I looked it up just before the talk. Rainbow Mountain is 5,200 meters above sea level, right? This is like it's difficult to breathe, you know. And what I thought, just as a matter of interest, how high is Everest Base Camp? And Everest Base Camp is 5,300 meters. It's only 100 meters higher than this place that we went to. And I was just thinking, it was beautiful, it's spectacular. I probably took 1,000 photos while I was there. And what I had to share with you guys was just how amusing it was that here I am at somewhere equal to Everest Base Camp. And the other photo is this lady sitting there with the sun. And I just thought, this lady comes here every day so that tourists can take her photo sitting on this mountain. And I just thought, this is so comical that here I am, traveling across the world to get to this place, and driving and climbing and suffering the trials of getting to this destination. And I'm all dressed up in like mountaineer gear, blue coat and wools and jumpers. And there's this woman going, 10 peso for a photo? Peso for a photo? It's just like, this is just doing this moment in for me. But it's just like she came all the way up here for all the people that come here to take this photo. And she's like a prop. She's come up
Mm.
here dressed in the Peruvian gear, and she makes money being a prop for people's photographs. So it's like when we were talking about before, do I ever change a photograph? It's like, no, but when the opportunity arises, like, yeah, I'll give you 10 pesos so you can sit there and I'll take your photo. So yeah, but just the places we go with photographs to capture that moment. And I took these photographs for me. This was,
Mm.
I really wanted to take these photographs. And I have these panoramics, and I have a panoramic where I took my phone and scrolled across, and you just can't capture the incredible scene in one photograph, but you can have a good go at it. So yeah,
Wow. Wow.
it's one of
Well,
those
you know
moments.
what? You know what? This is such a great live talk that I don't feel like ending at all. We kind of like overrun, like don't know how long already, but it has
Oh,
to come to an end
it
nonetheless.
does.
We have
It
we have
does.
Pascal over here saying that the lady is a local celebrity. I believe
I'm
so.
sure she's in
And
thousands of TripAdvisor photos.
yeah, I'm sure she is too.
Oh,
And I also wish to share with everyone who loves what Nick have shared with us about photography and about insights of a photo, how he relates his life with a photograph and how photography has made an impact in his life positively as well, and the way he see it, about sharing positive vibes,
mm,
about sharing happy moments. And I would like to invite all of you to join his class, his online workshop, which is happening on the 18th of December on Saturday, Singapore and KL time at 3 to 5 p.m., which is very favorable to us who are in
it
this part
is.
of the country.
Mm.
It's called Conscious Photography. Nick, would you be able to just share with a little bit with us what is this all about when you say conscious photography? What can we get out of that 2 hours?
Um, Well, I could read you with the benefits of doing the class, but essentially what we'll do is we'll just go through a series of photographs
Mm-hmm.
that I have taken that just highlight things that you think about before you take a photograph. Like
Mm-hmm.
what do you do when you're traveling that gives you a better photograph? So it can be, what time of day do you go out to take your photograph? Do you sleep in and get the good buffet breakfast and then go out afterwards with everyone else? Or do you go out and take photographs before breakfast and then come home and have this really nice breakfast with the reward of having done something? Do you use your phone all the time to take photographs? Or, if you do use a phone, do you use it properly? Is there a better way to
Mm.
use your phone, like adding on things like putting the compositional structure in or using HDR or bursts of photographs? So yeah, and I'll just take you through some of those behaviors that you have that where I would try and sit and why I would sit there and the type of photographs that you would get, the types of equipment that you might use. But I don't expect anyone to go out and take photos with this if they don't have it. But if they have it and it sits in the cupboard, what a waste. If you just sit there and go, oh my God, I've got my dad's camera equipment. I don't know how to use it. And he said, here, you can have my secondhand equipment. Maybe it might be the opportunity for you to understand why it's so much better to use that than to go and try and take your wonderful holiday photos on this. So yeah,
So it's definitely meant for anyone and everyone. You don't need to be like someone that is well versed with DSLR. It's meant for anyone, even people like me who uses mobile phone to take photos
yeah.
all the time.
Well, the
Okay.
history
So
the
to
history of this workshop really came from as a teacher and teaching photography. I would get a lot of staff come to me and go, "How do I take better holiday photos? I'm about to go to this most incredible thing. What should I do? What can you teach me?" So that's it. Look, I'll come down, I'll show you some photos, and I'll show you how I did them. So this workshop really does come from life experience of teaching people how to take photos when they're on holidays. And then people are like, now I do this on holidays. I want to do it every time I take a photograph. So yeah, if you've
Mm.
got wonderful Christmas plans and you've got out of COVID, and you're going to go and travel to America or wherever it is, lucky you. But if you're just in your local area and you're able to go and take photos of festivals and events, what's the sorts of things that you should do? Yeah.
Nice. And to all the audience, if you would like to speak to Nick directly, you can also
Ooh,
write to his email, nick at Coulter at thegolden.space.com.au. I think AU stands for Australia. And
it
with
does.
that, I would say it was a very, very insightful, interesting to talk about photos, to talk about photographies, and to understand Nick a little bit better in every way, the way you share. And you know what? We really can feel, I personally can really feel your passion when it comes to photography, when it comes to teaching as well. So I would, on behalf of Body Mind, so thank you so much for spending your time with us. And this afternoon of late afternoon, I believe is early evening for you over there in Australia. Thank you to all the audience who have stayed with us, and do catch any of the content over here, because the entire live talk is still available for everyone to kind of revisit it back at any time at your own convenience. So with that, I would say goodbye to everyone, and thank you, Nick, very, very
Thank
much. Hope
you.
to
Thanks,
see you
Christina.
again. Yeah,
Thanks
all
everyone for
right.
joining. Thanks, Dad. Thanks,
Bye
Mum, for
bye.
joining. See ya.
Yes, bye, bye, Frank.